It's time to review the movie Joker Folie A Deux from 2024, so let's get started. The movie opens with an animated sequence. The footage depicts comedian Arthur Fleck's appearance on Yuri Franklin's talk show, which ends in tragedy when Arthur kills the host and is subsequently arrested. The story then shifts to a psychiatric prison, where Arthur is now an inmate, being held under the watch of guard Jack and his assistants. Because Arthur frequently claims that he battles a billionaire dressed as a bat at night and once ruled as a Roman emperor, he's heavily medicated to keep him stable. Later, on a rainy day, Arthur is escorted to another room for a meeting with his attorney, Mary Ann Stewart. On the way, he notices a young girl in the therapy group who gestures that she knows about his actions on the talk show. The lawyer suggests a new tactic, pretending to be mentally ill so that he can be declared insane and transferred to a psychiatric hospital. To do this, she organizes a recording of a session with a psychotherapist. The doctor, asking leading questions, tries to create the impression that the patient has serious mental problems and that he might be worshipping the flying pasta monster. Later, Arthur asks the guard for a cigarette, and they tell him that a movie was made about his crime, where he was allegedly played by Joaquin Phoenix. Later, Arthur is allowed to participate in group music therapy for his good behavior, where he meets a girl named Lee again. She says she is his biggest fan and has seen the movie about him 20 times. She says she lives in the same neighborhood as him. Her father died in an accident, and she was sent to the hospital for setting fire to her mother's house. Back in his cell block, Arthur watches a report about himself on TV. Prosecutor Harvey Dent wants to get Arthur the death penalty. When the man bursts into uncontrollable laughter, the guards take him out into the rain to cool him down. Later, the patients are taken to a movie screening, where he is again seated next to Lee. The girl suggests that they escape together and then sets a fire under the guise of a smoke break. As the guards chaotically organize the evacuation, the couple escapes amid the flames. Under the guise of a musical performance, they reach the gate, where reporters have already gathered. However, the guards notice them in time and detain them. For the violation, Arthur is thrown into solitary confinement, where he dreams of another performance on stage with his girlfriend. He is awakened from his reverie by the voice of Lee, who has bribed the guard to get to her lover. She says that she is being discharged because Arthur is a bad influence on her, but promises to come to every hearing on his case. She also brings cosmetics to make him a Joker makeover, after which they spend an interesting moment together. After some time, the lawyer arranges an interview to show the public that Arthur Fleck is a broken, sick man, not a psychopathic killer. During the interview, Arthur learns that Lee's real name is Harley Quinzel and that she has given several interviews about their relationship. Arthur almost breaks down when the journalist provokes him with uncomfortable questions, but he holds back because he is a different person now and has a girlfriend. He performs a song in honor of Lee, and this time it is not another hallucination. Later, while watching the show on TV in the street, Lee breaks a store window and takes the TV. Soon, the day of Arthur's first hearing comes. The man is brought to court, where Joker's fans are gathered, eager to see their idol. While the prosecutor is interrogating the psychiatrist, Lee enters the room, late, and sings something to herself. When Arthur sees her, he smiles and loses interest in the trial, where his fate is being decided. The lawyer asks how a psychiatrist could determine in an hour and a half that there were no serious symptoms when the client has childhood traumas caused by abuse. The defense lawyer insists that it was in his childhood that Arthur created an alternative personality, which was revealed in the subway when he was attacked by hooligans. After the first hearing, the lawyer and Lee quarrel. The girl accuses the lawyer of mistreating Arthur. Later, Mary Ann tells Arthur that Lee was lying to him because her father is alive, and she grew up in a rich neighborhood, studied to be a psychiatrist, and was hospitalized voluntarily, not for setting fire to her house. Stunned by this information, Arthur imagines a new performance with Lee, which reflects his doubts and fears to the point where the girl pulls a gun on him. Later, Lee openly admits that she wanted to meet him and that this was the only way, because texting would not have had the same effect. She confesses that she moved into his old house to meet him after he was released from prison, and also reveals that she is pregnant with his child. The couple reconciles by singing an inspirational song. At the next hearing, Arthur's former neighbor Sophie takes the stand. She says that when he broke into her house, confusing reality with fantasy, she did not call the police because his mother convinced her that Arthur was completely safe. However, after the murders he committed, she regrets it, and his supporters pursue her, accusing her of having him in prison. The prosecutor asks Sophie to tell him how her mother described Arthur. According to her, her mother called him an unpleasant eccentric. These words evoke unpleasant memories for Arthur, from which he escapes again in his fantasy, where during a dance number, he beats the prosecutor and the judge to death and then puts a gun to his temple. Disappointed with the way the hearing is going, Arthur decides to abandon his lawyer and his split personality strategy. The defendant announces that he will defend himself in court, which causes a storm of applause among his supporters. While he is waiting to be transported back to prison, he is visited by Lee to provide moral support and encouragement. Back in the prison block, Arthur sees that his fellow inmates in the psychiatric cell, who had watched the broadcast of the hearing, are hailing him as a hero. He climbs up on a table to cheer them on, and a young man named Ricky supports him by climbing up on another table. When Ricky is unceremoniously led away by the guards, the other prisoners begin to make noise, and a riot is on the horizon. Reinforcements arrive, and the guards set about restoring order with harsh but effective methods. At the next hearing, Arthur appears as the Joker, wearing a red suit and face makeup. The judge, citing precedent, allows him to remain in this form, but emphasizes that the hearing should not be turned into a show. The first witness is Gary, a former colleague of Arthur's in the clown business, whom he spared last time after the murder of another colleague. The prosecutor asks him about the murder, after which the floor is turned over to Arthur. In his emotional speech, the accused hints that although they were supposedly friends, no one really knew Arthur, but everyone knows who the Joker is. And now, from an unknown animator in silly makeup, he has turned into a popular and sought-after personality. Even the guards in the prison treat him with respect. When Arthur finishes his interrogation, Gary tearfully tells him that he was the only person who never made fun of his short stature. The Joker does not like this emotional performance and says he has no more questions. After releasing the witness, the judge offers to call the next one, but the prosecutor says that the case is over. Arthur repeats after him that the defense is also finished, to the delight of his supporters. The judge adjourns until the next morning. Satisfied, Arthur hugs Lee, imagining another stage performance with a wedding, an orchestra, a piano, and bright spotlights. Upon his return to prison, Arthur receives a warm welcome. The guards, remembering how he mocked them on live TV, knock him down, drag him to the shower room, where they strip him and humiliate him. The humiliated and depressed clown is returned to the camera, which is noticed by a loyal follower of Ricky. The young man begins to chant slogans in support of his idol, but this only incites the guards' anger. They drag Ricky out, and in an attempt to silence him, they accidentally send him to the next world. The next day, Lee brings Arthur a Joker-style makeover before the final hearing. In his address to the jury, the Joker in costume and makeup takes a microphone and a chair and imitates a comedian's performance. However, his speech is not full of jokes. Arthur says that he has no personality disorder, and neither does the Joker. He committed all of his crimes himself and is ready to be punished for it. Hearing that he has publicly abandoned the idea of being the Joker, Lee silently stands up and walks out for the first time. While the jury is deliberating, Arthur calls her at home, but she doesn't answer. The jury finds him guilty. While the verdict is being read out, Arthur has a fit of uncontrollable laughter, which provokes the relatives of the people he killed into a fight. The guards rush to break them up when an explosion is heard outside. The bomb brings down a wall, injures the audience, and scars half of Harvey's face. When he regains consciousness, Arthur wanders among the wounded in the ruined building before escaping through a hole blown by the explosion. The fans and a friend stuff Arthur into a car and drive away before the firefighters and police arrive. The mesmerized comedian regains consciousness during the trip, and when the car stops in traffic, he gets out. Arthur runs away from his fans, who are stopped by the police. In the evening, he goes to his old house where Lee lives. He finds her in the middle of a long staircase and happily goes up to her. However, she tells him that she can't stay because he broke her heart by refusing to be the Joker. She also admits that she lied about her pregnancy and starts singing. For the first time since they met, Arthur doesn't sing along, not wanting to plunge back into the world of fantasy. When Lee leaves, the police arrive and Arthur is returned to prison. One day, he receives a visitor. As he leaves, one of the prisoners catches up with him to tell him a joke about a psychopath who walks into a bar and sees his favorite clown. The psychopath wants to treat him, not to a drink, but to something the clown really deserves. With that, the prisoner takes out a shiv and stabs Arthur. Life leaves his body. For the last time, he imagines himself on stage with Lee. He tries to sing one last time while Arthur convulses on the prison floor. His killer in the background brings a shiv to his face and begins to carve a wide, bloody smile, hinting that the Joker's cause is still alive.